Magic and Mystery in Tibet by Alexandra David-Neel. Chapter 4, Dealing with Ghosts and Demons. The Lugubrious Communion. A rather large number of Tibetan occultists seem to delight in lugubrious music and practices in which corpses play a prominent part. Vulgar sorcerers only seek by this means to acquire magic powers, but a number of more enlightened men affirm that esoteric teachings and a special kind of spiritual training is thus hidden under the veil of symbols and conventional language. I need not say that this repugnant mysticism has nothing at all in common with Buddhism. It is also foreign to true Lamaism, though a few lamas secretly yield to its bizarre attraction. Its origin must be sought in the light of Tantric Hinduism and the doctrines of the ancient Bonpo shamanists. The following story will be sufficient to illustrate this dark side of Tibetan occultism. It was told me at Cherku, Cherku, only a few years after the death of those concerned, and by a man who had known them personally. The Lama who plays the principal part was the abbot of Minyagpar Laikan, near Tashinlu, known by the name of Chogs Sang, Chogstsang. He is the author of a number of prophecies regarding events which are to take place in Tibet, China, and the world at large. He was regarded as having supernatural powers, among others of being able to cause death. Chogsang used to behave in a strange, often incomprehensible way, and was addicted to drinking. He lived for some time with the Tibetan chieftain of Tashinlu, who bears the title of Gyalpo, in brackets, king. And I'll spell Tianlu, Tachienlu. Once, while talking and drinking with his host, the Lama asked for the sister of the master of horse as his wife. Let me read that sentence again because I'm not understanding it. Once, while talking and drinking with his host, the Lama asked for the sister of the master of horse as his wife. This official, who happened to be present, refused his consent. The Lama was so enraged that he violently threw the precious jade cup in which he had drunk to the ground, breaking it into pieces, and cursed the equerry, declaring that after 2 days he would die. The Gyalpo, which is the king, the Gyalpo did not approve of the Lama's request for the officer's sister and had no faith in the power of the curse. The equerry was young and healthy, he argued. Still, the Lama maintained that he would die, and indeed 2 days later, the man passed away. Then the Gyalpo and the parents of the young maid became frightened and hastened to bring the girl to the Lama, but he refused to take her. She would have been useful, he said, for obtaining an object which would have benefited a large number of beings, but the opportunity is past, and I do not care for a wife. This story resembles that of Dugpa Kunlegs, Dugpa Kunlegs, Dugpa Kunlegs, mentioned in the first chapter. It's a common theme of Tibetan tales. Now, one evening, this same Chogsang unexpectedly called up one of his trapas. "Saddle 2 horses, we are going," he ordered him. The monk remonstrated with the Lama, saying that it was already late and that it would be better to wait till morning. "Do not answer back," said Chogsang laconically. "Let us go." They start, ride in the night, and arrive at some spot near a river. There they alight from their horses and walk towards the river's bank. Though the sky is completely dark, a spot on the water is lightened by sun rays. And lightened by sun rays is in quotes. And in that illuminated place, a corpse is floating upstream, moving against the current. After a while, it comes within reach of the two men. "Take your knife and cut a piece of the flesh and eat it," commands Chogsang to his companion. And he adds, "I have a friend in India who sends me a meal every year at this date." Then he himself begins to cut and to eat. The attendant is struck with terror. He endeavors to imitate the master, but does not dare put the morsel in his mouth and hides it in his ambag. And there's a footnote here for ambag. It's the breast pocket formed by the wide Tibetan robe tied with a belt. Both return to the monastery, where they arrive at dawn. The Lama says to the monk, "I wished you to share the favor and the most excellent fruits of this mystic meal, but you are not worthy of it. That's why you have not dared to eat the piece which you have cut off and hidden under your dress." Hearing these words, the monk repents of his lack of courage and puts his hand into his ambag to take his share of the corpse, but the piece of flesh is no longer there. This fantastic story accords with certain information given me with great reserve by some anchorites belonging to the Dzogchen sect, Dzogchen sect. There exists, so they said, certain human beings who have attained a high degree of spiritual perfection. Such a high degree of spiritual perfection that the original material substance of their bodies has become transmuted into a more subtle one, which possesses special qualities. Few people can discern the change which has come over these exceptional men. A morsel of their transformed flesh, when eaten, will produce a special kind of ecstasy and bestow knowledge and supernormal powers upon the man partaking of it. A hermit told me that when a Naljorpa, Naljorpa, through his clairvoyance, has discovered one of these wonderful beings, he sometimes begs from him the favor of being informed of his death in order that he may obtain a small portion of his precious body. Might fervent candidates for this gruesome communion not sometimes grow too impatient and refuse to wait for the natural death of the Holy One? Might they not hurry it forward? One of those who disclosed this secret rite to me almost seemed to confess that the thing had happened. However, he was careful to mention that the attuning circumstance that the victim consented to the sacrifice. And that concludes this part of the chapter. Oh my. And the next section is entitled "The Corpse Who Dances." Till soon.